I hope we are still together. The mics are open. What are the components of compensation in your workplace? What are the things that make up your compensation in your workplace?
Some workplaces don't have.
No, it's not possible. Even if you're doing charities now, you must have compensation. Without compensation, people don't work.
The salary falls under compensation?
Yes, salary is under compensation.
Okay, then I'll say salary.
We have, okay, go ahead.
Salary and a few times bonus, that's all.
Okay, salary and a few times bonus. Okay.
Like the bonus could be like once in a blue moon you get.
Okay. Thank God it's once in a blue moon. So before it gets red. Okay. That's awesome. So you have salary and bonus. But we'll still dig deep to find out if it's only salary and bonus. Okay. Mrs. Jumei.
That's all.
Okay, that's all for now.
Yes,
so we'll find out later now whether it's only salary or bonus. Okay, Mrs. Jumei, what are the components of compensation in your organization? The ones that are practical, the ones that they do, at least if not monthly, but it's there. Mrs. Jumei, you can unmute. Let's hear from you.
Okay. For now, basically what they do here is basic salary, that is the wages, and sometimes we get a little bonuses and commission.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's awesome. Okay. General Frank, can you hear us today? General, sir, if you can hear us, can you unmute? Let's hear from you. The class is rounding up today. We've not heard your voice for once in the class.
Hello, sir.
Yes, General. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, my brother. You have been wonderful in your delivery, honestly.
Thank you so much. But we've not heard your voice, and we are rounding up today.
Yes, at least you are hearing my voice now, because when you deliver something very good and there's nothing to say about it, it's just to keep mute and let everyone understand that it was a job well done.
It's all right, sir. It's all right. Thank you so much.
Yes,
okay, so really your own organization, I know you are a retired general, but when you were a general, so what were the components of what are the components of compensation when you were in the army?
No, it was the army is a wonderful organization, and they did very well, honestly.
Okay.
There's no cause to whimper over anything. They've done very well, and they made everybody happy.
Okay.
So
what were the possible components? What were the things that they gave you people that made you happy?
You see, yes, if you compare the army to other organizations in this country under the federal government, the moment people retire, they don't get their pension, they don't get their gratuity for so many years. But what in the armed forces is different. The moment I retired, the next month I got my pension. Within 3 months, they paid me my gratuity and everything.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. I can give you the exact dates and everything.
Wow.
So I keep on wondering, are we in the same country? When somebody will sit down with you and cry and tell you for the past 6 years after I retired, even the pension is not coming, not to talk of the gratuity and other goodies that are supposed to follow.
Wow.
So when I joke with them, I tell them, I say, look, if I come back to this country again, I'll still join the armed forces, because I know when I leave, they will pay me my money instantly.
Oh my God, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Yes,
that's lovely. Thank you so much, General.
Thank you very much.
We heard your voice today. Now we are so excited. Now we can move on.
Thank you. And the lady that was with you there. She's done a very good job. And her voice is a voice that makes you want to listen to her more.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, sir.
I appreciate that. Thank you, sir.
Thank
you. Okay, so let me say that the reason why people work is compensation. So it can be direct compensation, it can be indirect compensation. So we went from general, as he's talking now, I feel like going to apply to the army. I feel like going to apply to the army, but I will not go to the war. I will only stay in the admin. Okay. So you see how he sounded so excitedly? Like even if he comes back in the next generation, in the next war to come, he will still want to be in the army. Why? Because of the compensation package. And there are people leaving their organizations. If you ask them, it's primarily too because of compensation. Okay, that's even true. Mrs. Jume, I think your husband too is in the army. Is he a general too? I know the last time we spoke, you mentioned that your husband was in the army.
Yes, my husband is actually with the paramilitary, but his brother is a general in the army.
Okay, so now the future is secured. We don't need to whimper. All right, thank you so much. So compensation and benefits, they make a whole lot of either positive or negative effects to the people working. If you want to have a staff, or if you want to have a team of staff that have very high morale, then pay attention to having well-paying or well-packaged compensation. Okay, just like General was mentioning, earlier this year, it was in February, we held a training for the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation. Now, every day, if you're in the civil service, you will notice that some of the things that General just pointed out now is true. I know someone that I said it here the other day. Someone retired since 2012. Gratuity he has not seen. Pension, they pay once in a blue moon. Okay. Since 2012, I'm talking of 2012 till date, pension is once in a blue moon, gratuity, and the man is living on borrowing now. This was a principal, a school principal. Okay. Now, how do you want the younger generation to venture into such a career when they are not sure of their future? Okay, when they are not sure of their future, how do you want them to venture into it? Okay, so we need to have well-meaning packages for our staff. Now, when we talk about compensation, you have direct compensation and you have the indirect compensation. Direct compensations are the ones that are money-based. So you have your basic pay as direct compensation. Those ones you have immediate value from. They are referred to as your direct compensation. So your basic pay, your allowances that may come with work. Okay, so maybe you went for training, they gave you training allowance. You went for leave, they gave you leave allowance and all of those things. Those are direct compensation. Then you have the indirect compensations. Indirect compensations can be in terms of pension, gratuity. They are not immediate, but in the future, they will come back to you. So you have your pension, you have your gratuity, you have your insurance. In Nigeria now, it's compulsory. Well, it's mandatory, not compulsory. So let me use the right word. It's mandatory that you should have life assurance for your staff. And it's also mandatory that you should have your social insurance for your staff. So those are part of indirect benefits. Nobody can tell, but just like what happened in the army, was it earlier this week or late last week, that in Niger, they lost about 36 soldiers, 36 gallant soldiers, okay? We pray that God will grant the families and the Nigerian army and the nation at large the fortitude to bear. But those kind of scenarios, nobody ever plans for them. Nobody ever want to be in those, to be caught up in those kind of issues. Okay. But if we have issues of social insurance covering those, of course, if you're in the army, an organization as big as that, by default, by an act, you remit your social insurance every month. Okay. So if the army decide to process the social benefits that should accrue to those army by accident benefit or whatever, the families will be running with millions of naira. At least that will console them. Now, if they did life assurance, of course, I also believe an institution like the army should provide life assurance. Now, in the midst of life assurance, they're also going home with millions. That's apart from the other benefits that they might have. Those kind of benefits are well enough to motivate someone to say, okay, let me go. If I die, I know that something is coming back. Okay, so the way we manage compensation and benefits is very, very critical. And like I said, it can motivate or it can demotivate. Okay. What I'm going to say that might be funny, but someone told me of his experience. I think it was I was having a discussion with someone, and he told me how he left a company. How he left a company to another because of a value difference of 1.5. Okay. The other company he left to was 1,500 bigger than the other one. Okay. And he left to the other one. Now, when he left to the other one, he saw another job, but now there was a performance reward they always give every month. Now, I said he got another job that was maybe 5,000 naira more than the one he was working on. But this particular one he's working on now, there is this particular benefit they give them every month. If you meet target, they say that benefit was is it 3,000 naira. So he said he stayed extra 30 days in that organization because he wanted to collect the 3,000 before he left. That's to tell you the power of compensation. Okay, the power of compensation. Yeah, somebody's hand is up. Yes, General, you can go ahead, sir.
Yes, I just want to add to what you are telling my colleagues. Okay. Actually, the Army has welfare programs in place for such ugly incidences. Rest assured that the families be compensated adequately and on time. That's just my little contribution so that the nation will know that the Army as an organization takes care of its own, welfare-wise, and all those measures, all those packages are in place in case of such incidences. And I bet you in the next 1 week or less, the families will be called to collect their packages in addition to whatever the man was supposed to have collected if he was alive. Thank you, sir.
Wow. General, you are tempting us to you are tempting us before we go and start applying now. Okay. At least we've heard from the horse's mouth. All right. So you could see that with good benefits, you can have retention in place. You can have staff well retained. Now, I have another scenario that happened. One of my mentors, who is also a faculty member of the institute, he was working with Globacom. Okay, he was working with Globacom, and he was one of the big boys in Globacom. At some point, he told me he was leaving Globacom for HP computers. I felt, wow, going to an international organization, of course, Globacom also is international, but going for such an organization as HP Computers Incorporated, it was going to be like bigger money, bigger this and all of that. So one of the days we were driving and he told me, he said, Juanito, you know, when I left Globacom, some people would think I actually went for the money, but it wasn't for the money. I paid attention to get what he meant. He said his salary, the salary he was receiving, or he's currently receiving in HP Computers, is about 250,000 less than what he was receiving in Globacom. Okay, he was already earning in millions in Globacom per month. So I was like, so what? Okay, I think he told me then that his salary in HP when he resumed was about 500,000, but in Globacom he was earning over 1 million. All right, he was earning over 1 million as of the time he left. So I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you? And all his children are studying abroad. All his children are studying abroad as of then. Then one just graduated and the others are still there. So I'm like, so why would you take such a risk? You need money, okay? And he laughed. He told me, said, there is a time in your career that money will no longer be the only thing you want to see as benefit. There are other things you want to see as benefit. He said, a time will come that you don't even want to go to work every day. You want to work from home. You want to work at your own pace, okay? You just want to be in the organization that all they want is performance, not monitoring you front and back, monitoring your back, monitoring your front, and monitoring all the things you're doing. And he told me, said, all the benefits that he will get in, though not financial, but all the benefits joined together is more than what he gets in Globacom. I was like, wow. And those benefits, not long after he started, I started seeing those benefits. Okay, so he has houses almost across all the African countries now. You barely see him in Nigeria. Okay, so he moved from Ghana to Kenya to Rwanda to Canada to UK to everywhere that HP is, he's going there. He's barely 3 years into the company, and he told me that he's expecting a promotion, that they are foreseen making him a CEO. Okay, making him a CEO for the entire West African region. Okay, I was like, wow. Now, you might not be able to imagine all of the compensation that goes alongside with that, but I think that will be mind-blowing. So when we look at compensation, we should know the right kind of compensation to give for the right kind of performance. Because like he said, what he said is actually truth. As we grow, there is a point in your life you will get to that money is no longer the only thing you're looking out for. Okay, money is no longer the only thing you're looking out for. There are other compensations you want to see. Okay, there are other compensations you want to see. Now, I have this, my sister's husband. That young man, he's a civil engineer. He's a wonderful civil engineer, very good at what he does. But to me, I feel he has a challenge. He doesn't stay in a company for more than 1 year. It is rare to see him stay in a company for more than 1 year, no matter what you're paying him. So he keeps, since I met him, he has worked in not less than 20 organizations, not less than 20. Some he will work for 6 months and he will tell you he's done with this company, he's moving to another one. And of course, as he's moving, his benefits are also increasing and all of that. But something happened in recent time. This particular company he is now, I think he's gradually getting to 2 years there. Okay, and the last time he visited Abuja, was it last week or last 2 weeks from Lagos? And he told me, he said, this company, he has not seen any reason to leave them yet. And when I looked at the whole thing, it boils down to what? To compensation. When you're in a company that will take care of your children, school fees and all of that, you need to bother. Okay, they take care of your children. They have allowance for your children, their education, their medical care, and all of that. Even if they are paying you 100,000 to eat food in a month, you won't be bothered because all the things you're working for, you have provision. One of the things he told me when he went into that company, he told me that they have a package that as you come in as a staff, they will give you a house of your choice. Not they will just give you, no, you choose from all the array of houses they have all across the country. You will choose the one that you want. If it is 3 bedroom, 4 bedroom, if it is terrace, bungalow, story building, it is your choice. Okay. Now, this is what it means. If you choose a house of 50 million, you're not going to leave that company until you complete the payment for the 50 million. And the payment is made in such a way that there's already an allowance made available for your accommodation. So instead of paying you the allowance straight to you, they will not keep deducting the allowance. So let's assume that the allowance is 50,000 naira per month, and you choose the house of 50 million. That means you're not going anywhere. Just imagine how wonderful that particular compensation have contributed to retaining one of the best brains, as far as I know, in civil engineering in Nigeria. They just use that particular method. And then you don't need to bother about your children's school fees. You don't need to bother about your children's medicals. You don't need to, in fact, you don't just need to bother about anything. The only thing that you need to bother about is come to work and go. And then he works, I think he said he works three times in a week. He goes to work, his office time is 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Just imagine that kind of organization. Okay, I know there are some other organizations trying to do that now, but that has been the standard of the organization. You work 3 times in a week. One is your off day. The other day you work from home. Okay, and that is beautiful. Now there is something he has accomplished in these few years he has spent in the organization. He started his master's in the other organization before he came in, but in these few days he has spent there, or few years he has spent there, he has completed his 2 master's program and is currently running 2 PhD programs. Okay, he's running 2 PhD programs with another master's. And I was asking, bros, all these, you have 2 PhDs now, you have 3 masters. What do you want to do with all of this? But that's him. He's just crazy about knowledge. Okay, so those kind of organizations, they with those kind of compensation, you bet me you don't want to go anywhere. Okay, you bet me you don't want to go anywhere. Okay, you don't want to go anywhere. So you share the name of the organization. Okay, I will share the name of the organization. Don't worry. All right. So with this little we've shared now, we could understand how important compensation is to organizations. So now, traditionally, or let me say, by standard regulations, there are certain ways that government has also made it that you can also retain your staff with just some little things that come to it. Number one, you have your pension. Pension is one of the statutory ways that government made available through which you can retain staff. A staff that is under pension scheme is more likely to be retained than the one that is not under pension scheme. That's one. Then you have your social insurance. When a staff, I was talking with a staff at NSITF, NSITF, National Social Insurance Trust Fund. I was talking with one of the staff when we are doing a renewal of license this year. And I was asking him, I said, all these things you people tell us to pay every month, pay this amount, pay that amount. What is actually the benefit of this? Because as of then, I did not really know what benefit. I thought it was just a statutory requirement. So he now started educating me. He said, for every staff, you pay, I think 1% of the person's salary, right? He said, if anything happens to this person in terms of maybe ill health, or any eventualities, if it is ill health, the NSITF is expected to pay the person certain amount of money if it is reported. Now it's conditional. It has to be reported for the person to have the benefits, right? If there is a case of accident, the NSITF is to pay the person social damages if reported. And he said these things take place within 14 to 21 working days, the process and sent to you. Now, assuming your staff is aware of this and you're paying maybe the 1,000 naira or 1,001, dependent on what the salary is. Okay. 1% of 10% of 100,000 is 10,000. 1% of 100,000 is 1,000 naira. So if you're collecting 1,000, if you're paying your staff 100,000, you're expected to pay 1,000 naira per month for the person. So per annum, you are expected to pay like 12,000, right? Now, 1% of 1% of 250,000 is 2.5. But he told me that you can claim benefits of up to 3 to 5 million with that particular 1.5 or 2.5 or 1,000 you're paying. Just be sure that you report the case, they run an assessment of the case, and then they pay you compensation on those things. So with those little things, you see your staff will be much more, especially when they've seen one person enjoy the benefit, two people enjoy the benefit, they just want to be there. Okay. Why do you think in the Nigerian Civil Service you have the acronym suffering and smiling? It is because of the future benefits. You have pension. Of course, you know that if you're working in the public space and you leave, your pension stops reading. Okay, if you go to a private firm that is not continuing with the pension, that's the end of it. Okay, that's the end of it. If you go to the ministries, suffering and smiling, you go to local government, suffering and smiling, you go to state government, suffering and smiling. Okay, and then remember when we are talking about the global perspective to HRM, we talked about one of the challenges in terms of contractor management or management of vendors, that some organizations don't want to pay these things. So they transfer the responsibility to their vendors, and their vendors are not ready to pay. So you might actually be like, oh, I'm going to an international organization and getting there, you find out that no pension, no gratuity, no social insurance, your life is at your own hand. Anything happens, you're on your own. So they just do anything and that's it. So we therefore need to pay very good attention to managing our compensation very, very well. Okay, very, very well. You don't need to pay your staff 100,000 in a month for them to say, this our organization is trying. You can pay your staff 50,000, but with other benefits, they will be delighted to stay there than go to where they will pay the 150 and the benefits are not there. I hope we are getting something. Okay, I hope we are getting something. Okay, so as a HR professional, when you go to do a review, part of the things you need to audit is the compensation package. Is it well enough to keep the people there? All right. And let me one more time make a plea, because I'll be rounding up now very, very shortly. Through the examples we've given, we understand what compensation is. So what we now need to do is look at the components of compensation and see how to bring them to use. So my call now is, please, when you get this material, don't just keep it. Make sure you go through it over and over again. Okay. So these are the things we are meant to look at: introduction to compensation management, economic theories and compensation management, job design, performance-related compensation, negotiation and compensation, attrition and compensation, executive compensation, sales compensation plans, strategic compensation management, quantitative tools and innovation in compensation, international compensation management. I think we've already discussed all of this. Okay. In the morning, we started with, when Mrs. Jume made her presentation, we tried to create that column that after we've said performance standard, there should also be reward standard or compensation standard for each of that. So that's compensation and job design. So for each of the job we design, there should be a particular compensation to it. Okay, so I could say we are done with that because we've done job design, we've done job description, job specification, and then we did job evaluation. In that job evaluation, job evaluation is actually telling you the worth of the job. And the worth of the job in this case is the compensation we are preparing or proposing for that particular job, right? Okay, then we've also talked about performance-related compensation. Mrs. Jume gave us a very good example when we started with all of the KPIs she raised for her ED. Okay, and then you have the level 1, level 2, level 3. She gave us good descriptions of what each of them meant. Okay, so that is a performance-based kind of compensation. So by the time we are done with this class, I will begin to say level 1, if you're at level 1, we'll pay you this, or we give you this benefit. If you're level 2, we give you those benefits. If you're level 3, we give you that benefit. You find out that we are we have settled the issue of performance-related compensation. And not just the use of bars. We can use the other ones, critical incidents, we can use the graphical, graphic scale rating. But why we decided to talk about bars is that bars is a combination of critical incidents and scales. Okay, so we can find the performance related performance methodology that we'll use for our own compensation plans. Then you have negotiation and compensation. There was something I wanted to talk about yesterday, but I said since we are discussing this today, I will not mention that. There's what we call selective bargaining. Selective bargaining. Selective bargaining. We have selective bargaining, we have collective bargaining. But let me just pick the one word there, which is bargaining. Bargaining. Okay. During the lecture yesterday, one of the recorded lectures we are discussing, I think it was on recruitment and selection. Somebody made mention that she saw this job advertised, and the job is supposed to be for 250,000. And then they asked her during the interview, they asked her, how much are you expecting? What's your minimum? And she said 200. At the end of the day, in her offer letter, she saw 150. All right. Now, she didn't tell us if she bargained or she did not bargain for that. But that kind of experience is always there in the compensation package. During negotiation, you want to get the most compensation for the best of the work you're bringing in. I'll repeat this again. During your negotiation, during that time of interview, still negotiating, before the offer letter comes up, or before the appointment letter comes up, you want to negotiate the best of what you can get while you are at the negotiation table. There are some employment that comes, you have the opportunity to negotiate. There are some employment that come, the standards have already been set, you can't negotiate anything. For instance, if you're going to work in the public sector as a staff, you don't go there negotiating anything. Everything has already been set. Now, if you're going there to work as a contractor, you can negotiate. Now, for people in the public sector, for them to be able to negotiate, they will now do what we call collective negotiation. That's group form of negotiation. So the NLC, the TUC, the unions surrounding those bodies or surrounding those particular areas can go and negotiate. So now we've been talking about, what do you call it? Minimum wage. That minimum wage is not on individual negotiation, it's collective bargaining. It's collective negotiation. But you could also have selective or individual negotiation where individuals can negotiate. So some organizations provide us with the privilege of individual negotiation, while some provide us with the privilege of collective negotiation. Okay. Then I've talked about attrition and compensation management. Attrition simply means the rate at which you have staff turnover. That's the rate of staff loss. So with good compensation plan, attrition is reduced. With poor compensation plan, attrition is increased. Okay, attrition is increased. Okay, did we talk about executive compensation? We didn't mention executive compensation. Okay, so when we have compensation, let's go back to the 3 levels of management. You have the top level management, you have the middle level management, and you have the low level management or the entry level management. So the compensation package for entry level obviously is not the same as that of middle level, and of course it's not the same as that of top level management. Although one okay, I have Barrister Isese here. Maybe he will confirm what I'm saying now because he's also in the ministry. Okay, being a special advisor, I believe he should have some kind of clue. Is he still in class? Is Barrister okay? He's not here. Okay, he would have helped us confirm this. I've heard from 2 directors, including a professor. And maybe if there is any one of us here that is into maybe public civil service, and you have a pre-information of what their remuneration might be, you might also help us. Now, they said, when they said you're promoted, promotion in the civil service is not like it comes with very big benefits. Like you can be promoted from You can be promoted to a supervisor from wherever they are promoting you from. You can be promoted to a supervisor, but the difference in your salary might be 3,000 or 5,000. And then that takes for like 3 years. You'll get promoted again, maybe to a principal officer. You have a difference of 10,000. Okay. And then it keeps going that way till you get to become a director. And then when you check your difference between when you started work and where you are, the entire difference might be 15,000. Okay, and I was wondering how true could this be? One of our faculty members is supposed to be in this class. He's supposed to be one of the facilitators in this class, but he's currently in KEFI for a program that their ministry organized. Okay, he told me one day, he said that all that he goes home with in a month, I don't know whether it's still true now. He said all that he goes home with in a month as a head of department is not up to 200,000 naira. He was the first person to tell me that. And then another director told me in another ministry, he told me that he's just here answering director, but as a director, that he doesn't go home, all his entire, by the time they do all the deductions and all of everything, he doesn't go home with up to 200. That the maximum he has ever experienced being a director is 210,000. It shocked me, like, how could that be? Okay, it shocked me, like, how could that be? Okay, now, with this kind of compensation, you will find that it's easier for corruption to thrive. If it is true, it's easier for corruption to thrive. Okay, can we go back to schools? You hear teachers tell you that, some will tell you that they collect 62,000, they will tell you that they collect 75,000. I know of a teacher that he told me that he collect 50,000 naira. As a public staff working in a unity school, he collects 50,000 naira. And then tomorrow there is a provision or there is a way for this person to all of a sudden get 200,000 naira from students. He will be tempted to get into it. He will be tempted to get into it. When I was serving as a core member, I used to teach physics, mathematics, and chemistry. Yeah, my core, the one they gave me to teach was mathematics, but out of law for the children, I teach them physics and chemistry. Okay, so that particular year, they were to do WAEC, yeah, WAEC, and then for the first time, the principal called me to his office with other math teachers. We were about, for the senior classes, we were about three teachers teaching the senior classes. And then they called me inside that the principal wanted to see me. And when I came in, the principal said, "Oh, Copper, is you?" I said, "Yes, sir." It's okay, Copper, I need you to do something. These children are writing mathematics today. I said, "Yes, I know." He said, "Okay, and you're not going to be part of the invigilators." I said, "I know. I'd already told them that I won't even be close to their hall." It's okay. You're not going to be close to the hall, but we are going to provide you where you're going to stay. So we'll provide the question. You solve all the question and we'll take it to them. These other teachers will write it for them and all of that. And I smiled. I said, "Sir, no, it's not part of me." He said, "They are going to pay me. It's not, I'm not doing it for free. It's not that they are going to pay me." I said, "Sir, no, it's not part of me. I don't do that." The other two teachers, now when they said they are going to provide a place for me, when I declined the offer, you know where they took those two teachers to? They actually went and secured someone else. They took the person to inside the bush that police cannot reach. And then that was where they were solving all the questions from and then supplying them. And there were also police guys there. So when they come, they also sort the police guys. They sorted the police guys, sorted the invigilators, sorted supervisors, and they were writing on the board. Some of those teachers, it's not as though that's what they wanted to do, but the kind of compensation package that they made available to them had made them feel like any opportunity to make money they should just go ahead. Whether it's legal or illegal, provided it will not land them in jail, let them just go ahead. And at the end of the day, how much was that? 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. So we need to pay attention. In the public sector specifically, we need to pay attention to compensation. Okay, like we heard General, I said, sometimes he used to wonder if the public service they are in the army is the same thing others are. And what he's telling you is the honest fact. Okay, it's the honest fact. I was discussing with my sister this morning. My father was a lecturer for years. And was a lecturer for years. And then from being the lecturer, he got appointment in the court. Was he a customary court? Okay. That is the customary court that I knew then that paid him some sort of, whether it was gratuity or pension, I cannot really say. Okay, but my father, he was sick while in the process of working, he got sick. So he was sick for a while. It was the courts that were still paying him, or the judiciary. It was only the judiciary that were still paying him. What he was doing in the court was an appointment, but he was a lecturer. So the fees from the lecturer's side at some point stopped. It stopped. Okay. Even when he died, it was still the judiciary that came and brought. Then I think then it was a sizable amount of money. I think then they used to pay them, was it 35,000 or so? 35,000 naira. That was in those days, not now. And then when he died, they brought some good money. Okay, they helped with some good money in terms of that gratuity or what, I cannot really remember. But do you know that since my father died till date, that university that he was in, all of us were still young then. That university that he was in, my mother kept going, kept going till she got tired of going to that university. So we just went, everybody just left them alone. We don't have all the energy. Okay, you don't have money, and the one you have, you're using it to pursue something. My father, I think it was in 2002 or 2004, he died. From that time till now, nobody has ever talked about, is it gratuity? Is it pension? Is it benefit? Nobody ever spoke about that. Now, someone is in that university and he saw what my father went through, and you don't want him to go and indulge in student sorting and student doing. He will eventually get into it and tell you, after all, the people that died, nothing happened. So we need to pay attention to compensation. We need to, especially the public sector. The public sector, at least private sector, you can wake up and say, I'm no longer working, and you go to find something. But public sector, when you come in, it's like you're just done. That's your final bus stop. You don't want to, except you want to go for politics. But most cases, when you enter into public sector, it's just done. Okay, you're just done. Okay, so we need to pay attention to reviewing. One of the things that Office of the Head of Civil Service through FCP is doing is review of what do they call it now? Review of benefits, compensation and benefit. But that has been there for years. They've been reviewing that for years. They've been reviewing that for years. Okay, they've been reviewing that for years. All right. And things are changing on daily basis. Inflation is rising on daily basis. Standard of living is getting lower and lower on daily basis. Cost of living is getting higher and higher on daily basis. But we are still on the table, negotiating compensation, doing all manner of, and that's why I say people like NLC, TUC, they are not really doing well. Okay, as far as I'm concerned, they are not doing to their best bet. Okay, they are not. NLC, TUC, ASU, COASU, what do you call the other one? That teachers are even the worst. If teachers like let them go on strike, nobody should pay attention to them. Okay, nobody pays attention to them. All right. So we need to pay attention to all of these things for us to be able to have a healthy economy. Okay. Okay. So now a liter of fuel is 617 naira. And a teacher is collecting 50,000 naira. Let's assume that teacher has bike and it takes 10 liters per week to go to work and come back. 10 liters per week is 6,117 naira. So we can actually say 6.5 or 6.5 multiplied by 4. 6,000 multiplied by 4 is 24,000. So let's just benchmark it as the 6,000 multiplied by 4 is 24,000. Just to go to work and come back, he has 26,000 left. Inside that 26,000, he has to pay children's school fees. He has to pay for feeding, upkeep for the home. He has to pay for house rent and all of that. If this teacher has a way out, he'll do something else that will even, he will go ahead and do it. So public, I'm not just emphasizing on public sector only. I'm also calling the attention of private sector. Let us get it right. If not, we'll have a quagmire in the whole economy. Okay. All these simple things are the things that will determine if the economy will prosper or not. But government has to give the lead. Government has to give the lead for others to follow. Now, why did I just chuckle? I was listening to, was it Nigeria Info the other day, and they were talking about this same issue of benefits, public service benefits and the like. Okay, it was police. Yeah, it was police they are talking about. Somebody was on air talking about police welfare. Yeah, police welfare. And this particular policeman called in and said that them that are in the real police, because now he said there is a real police and there is the other form of police, which is executive in nature. He said, if you go to the police that is attached to Shell or Chevron or Total or ExxonMobil, he said you will want to become a policeman by force. He said these guys, they have their own apartment. The salary that the Nigerian police even pay them is not what they are counting on. Shell has a special package for them. Now, he said in such a way that no amount of thing you will tell those policemen, there is nothing you will tell them that they want to leave their post in Shell or Chevron or what have you. Okay, they don't count. He said you will see some of them riding E-class Mercedes-Benz, and you will think they are your mates. You see some of them riding cars worth tens of millions of naira, but they are the same police people, just because the environment is different. Some are in the native police custody, some are in Shell, some are in Chevron, some are just in other places. Okay, and the young man was crying foul that there need to be reform in the police welfare packages, or let me say compensation packages. So if we get it right in compensation, there is a possibility that we'll get it right in performance, and there is a possibility that we'll get it right in staff motivation and staff retention. Okay, that will also have the sales compensation plans, like commission-based kind of compensation, right? Okay, then you have the strategic compensation management. The part of the strategic compensation management plan is where you see things like those pension, those ones that you know that you are not getting the immediate benefit now, but there's a future. Okay, there's a future. All right, there's a future. Let me quickly recommend and encourage for those of us that are in public service, or you worked in the public service and now you are on your own, and others that are not in the public service. My recommendation is this. I love talking about this because it gives me some kind of joy. If I see anybody that is interested in professional knowledge, I tell them one thing. If you're interested in professional knowledge, also be interested in consulting, right? Be interested in consulting. So while you are doing whatsoever thing you're doing, let part of your compensation plan, let part of your own personal compensation plan, try to register and set up a company that you will retire in, not necessarily retire, but you're going to continue your life in. And my own admonition is that if you want to do this, consider areas as consulting, agriculture, housing, and in recent time, waste management. Okay, look at these areas and also food, agriculture, housing, waste management, food, okay, energy. Now that they have what do you call it? They've signed the power bill to is it an act now? The power act that allows for privatization and individuals can invest there. That's also one of the areas you can venture into. With your 36 million or 18 million gratuity, you can start planning in advance. Start now, do your registrations, start working as a consultant first. Start positioning yourself as a consultant. I've given this story of Brigadier General Dele Aragundade. I've given that story over and over again, and most often I play it in the class. This he's not a young man. He celebrated his 50 years earlier this week. Yeah, he celebrated his 50 years earlier this week. So he's no longer a young man. He's people in their 50s. What did they call them? People in their 50s. What they call them? When you celebrate 58, I know it's golden. Is it golden jubilee? 50 should be golden jubilee. But there's one word they give them. They call them. Okay, there's one word they call them. Now, when Brigadier General Dele came to us to take a course, he was so passionate. All he wanted to do, when I mentioned that you should consider being a consultant, all he wanted to do afterwards was just to become a consultant. Nothing else mattered to him. He came to that course. In fact, General has taken more than 5 courses in IPM. So all the courses he took, apart from one that he told us to write to his commandant then, that they paid for him. But apart from that, he paid all for himself. And I said the same thing I'm saying now during their section. In one of their sessions, I say, why don't you register a side consulting firm, right? Start properly. I'm not saying you should use your name, of course. When you're writing your proposals and all of that, I'm not asking you, you just find the partner that you can do that with. You have the network, you have the assets. Find a partner who can close the deals on behalf of the company, okay? I hope you understand what I'm trying to say. Now, General went and brought his brother. His brother happened to be a professor in Unilag. And then I had a meeting with them. The professor went and brought his wife. General, so in the family, they trained about 6 of them because they want to become consultants. General trained his wife, and I think another person, whether the son or the daughter, I can't remember again. Then the professor trained himself, trained the wife. Okay, so there were about 5. Okay, no, there were 5. Yes, there were 5. Not daughter. They brought another man. In this class, there is one man that came earlier. His name is Alex Egbagbara. He was here in the first class. He's a lecturer. He's a doctor. I don't know whether he has become a prof now, but as of 2020, when he came to IPM, he was a doctor in LASU, not Unilag, LASU. So it was 5. Okay, there were 6. There was another professor they brought from Ibadan, UI. So the 6 of them came together to form a company. Okay, they came together to form a company. Now, in 2022, the benefits of what they started returning investment to them. So they started having return on investment. So the first engagement that General had was to train the Nigerian Army on emotional intelligence. And he did that across all the major barracks and all the major schools, all the major army schools in Nigeria. He did it and also got recommendation for outside Nigeria. He went to Cotonou, he went to some other African countries, just between late 2022 to date. Okay, and in the process of doing all these things, he became a commandant. He got promoted as a commandant this month also. Okay, he got promoted as a commandant. Now, there was one that he did that shocked me. That one, Even we've not done such a thing before. But that is the power of using your network. Okay, that's the power of, you can have all the knowledge but not have opportunity. And you can have all the opportunity and not have the knowledge. But the most impressive one is when you have the knowledge and you have the opportunity. Now, late last year, he called me. No, it was earlier this year he called me that he was going for a training, youth entrepreneurship development in Oyo State. They were to train 4,000 youths. 4,000 youths. I didn't ask him how much. Okay, it was a sponsored program. And I said, even if he decided to collect 500 naira from each of the for each of the youths from the sponsor, that is money. If he decides to collect for 1,000, that is money. But at the end of the day, the most important thing is he has been able to turn his knowledge to practical use. Okay, and I tell you the truth, I lie not. If General retires tomorrow, I don't think he will be looking for what to do afterwards, because he has already built, he has trained NNPC, he has trained the Nigerian Army, he has trained in the Navy, just by virtue of interest. Oh, I just want to be this. And he focused on it. So even if the compensation we get might not be enough, let's plan our own individual compensation and see how we can make the most of what we know. Okay, we can make the most of what we know. September 20th, we are having a luncheon and a mini induction. A special induction for all those coming. What are we doing? We are just gathering all our members together, trying to find a way to reignite them. Most of them will retire this one told me that she'll be retiring. No, one of the directors, he will be retiring in October. Okay. Another one will be retiring in December. Most of our members, because they are public servants and they are ready, they are always in the retirement mood. Why we have the fresh ones? We also have those retiring. But what we want to do, don't just go and say you're retired and that's all. Find your own niche before you retire. Let me tell you something, whether you believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, the day you leave that particular office you are now, you'll be shocked. The next time you come back, you might have some struggle to assess some things. And by the time you stay 1, 2, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months outside, it will become almost impossible to assess anything in that office. So now that you're there, why don't you make the most of that particular platform? Okay, do your networking extensively, build your relationships extensively, let them last you for a lifetime. That even after you're gone, part of the thing should be transferring to your children as your will should be meaningful relationships. Meaningful relationships. All right. Okay. So if you ask me, I will say I'm done with compensation management. Any question for me? You want me to still scroll this slide, or should we just go for break and come back? Any question for the Son of Man? Any question for me? Okay, I believe you can still hear me, right? Please, if you can still hear me, kindly type 1 in the chat room. Okay, so do I have any question? Do you have any question for me? Any contribution? Questions, contribution? Okay, please go ahead, Miriam. Miriam, your microphone is on.
Regarding the compensation,
Sorry, can you come again? I didn't hear you well.
Yeah.
I think
your network.
I think your network is breaking. I can't hear you. Can you try again? Let me know if I can hear you. Let me see if I can hear you.
I think, well, it's a good thing for an organization to have a very, but somehow that teacher's example you give, some people, really, no matter the compensation that they'll still do what they want to do. But
Okay.
generally, I'm more.
Yeah. I know you're saying something
Generally, I
really
encourage organizations to have a very good compensation package. Yeah. But if that,
okay. Thank you so much. Sorry, the network was breaking, but from the little ahead, you talked about the teacher's example. You said there are some people, irrespective of the package, they will still do whatever thing they want to do. I agree with you, but there is something that will happen. Remember, what we are doing is this HRM we are doing is a strategic process. So it's phase by phase, right? So if you go back to recruitment, remember I said, okay, let's start from planning, manpower planning. Remember I said that when you have effective manpower planning, it will impact on your recruitment. And then when you have quality policies on your recruitment, it will give you quality people as your employees, right? Now, part of the thing we do in recruitment is negotiation, right? Part of the thing we do in recruitment is negotiation. And part of the thing we do in that negotiation is establishing an understanding of the terms and conditions of job, right? Okay, so in that particular process of policy explanation and all of that, you would have helped the person coming in to know what kind of culture do we have here, what kind of standards do we expect, and all of that. Now, that also, compensation being part of the negotiation, if the compensation complements the terms and conditions, you would have, in a good measure, demystify some of the negative behavior the person may have tendency to bring in. There are some, okay, this is not an emotional intelligence class, but in emotional intelligence, we tell you that there are things we call triggers. There are behaviors that will never come up until certain events trigger them. There are behaviors that can be suppressed by the creation of certain environments. So if you look at it, behaviors, I'm not saying that what you said is not true. Yes, there are people that no matter what you do, they will want to do what they want to do. But what I'm trying to say is that with effective HR system, effective HR procedure, before you even get such people into your organization, the process would have taken them out. And those that you managed to bring in, the process was able to screen enough to bring in, with the standards, it will be difficult for them to behave otherwise. And then by introduction of emotional intelligence in your processes, like I said, if you have a well-structured environment, or you have high-performance work environment or high-performance work culture, all right? If you have that in view, there are certain kind of environment that must be created for people to be structured in a way. And if those environments are absent, the absence of those environments could bring in some events that would trigger behaviors that you never knew that was present in those people. So it's all about trying to cultivate an environment that will give you the kind of behavior you want to have as an organization. And that is called behavior modeling, and is all embedded in emotional intelligence, behavior modeling. So you can create an environment that will give you the behavior that you want to see in your organization. Okay. All right. So thank you so much. So if we return back to this, the example we gave now, what we are trying to encourage is let the government and other employees create an environment that will support the people not to be corrupt. As far as I'm concerned now, most of the policies in Nigeria, they are excellent, but in reality, they do not support the fight against corruption. They don't. They are good policies, but we've not created that environment that will make people to begin to rethink and have the need for personal change. We've not yet built those kind of culture. The culture we have now in Nigeria is the culture of me, myself, and I. It's just a survival pattern of culture. We've not built the culture of patriotism yet. In fact, we've destroyed it our politicians have gone a long way to destroy the culture of patriotism. So Nigerians are so much embittered and they are embattled with the journey of survival rather than patriotism or citizenship. So if we want to have a good country where compensation becomes fair enough for all, we must go back to, first of all, creating that environment. And that environment is going to be an environment that on its own is self-motivating. We will create an environment that is self-motivating. Now, all these things I'm saying, I was in a particular ministry, no, not a ministry, it was a commission. It was a commission, yeah, it was a commission. I was in a particular commission. Most of their members, most of their directors are our fellows here. Now, I went to that particular ministry, even before I knew them. The way they treated the case I brought was more like a private firm. That's the commission I told you that there they have, their human resource management is considered as human capital management. When I had a discussion with some of them, they said they pulled them out from different places they were in the private sector. One told me that he was already in doing well in Airtel before they pulled him out. One said he was in MTN. Like they brought them from organizations that had high performance cultures, and then they are bringing them and structuring them to have the same high performance culture. Now, something shocking is that their own payment system and the payment of the other civil servant is not the same. So you see an entry staff, they're going home with 150, 200. I'm talking of public sector, okay, 150, 200. And a director is going home with much more better packages. Okay, so can government replicate what they are doing in that particular commission? Can they replicate it across ministries, across other agencies, so that in that kind of environment, you don't go there and tell somebody you want to give him 10,000 and he's listening to you. 10,000 for what? Yeah? What are you giving me 10,000 for? Meanwhile, I've been to the police before. If you don't pay 5,000 naira, they will not listen to you. As in, that 5,000 naira is like, I'm talking of police station as big as Maitama, as big as Gariki. They would also Koro, they will tell you, you give us, you pay your this, you pay your that. Is it part of? Okay. So all these things are because of the kind of motivation, the kind of compensation. Okay, if a policeman is going home with say 300,000 or 250,000, he won't be talking to you about 5,000 naira or 3,000 naira. What would that be for? So with good compensation, Nigerians will become good citizens again. I don't know why I'm focusing on public sector. Maybe I have much case studies there, but the same thing applies to the private sector. In the private sector, we still talk about the spirit of good citizenship. Okay, if you have good packages tied to good performance metrics, then you will have good retention and good citizenship. Okay. All right. Any other question, contribution? I would like to go to. I'd like to go to my next class. Question, contribution. Question, contribution, question, contribution, question, contribution. Okay, so we have quite a number of stories here. Please, at your own spare time, take your time, go through the case studies, read all through, and enjoy. So let me summarize by running through the slides. Objectives of compensation, there should be equity. Compensation tries to balance the issues of inefficiency, and it brings about macroeconomic stability. Okay, so you see, all these things I've been talking about, stabilizing the national economy and all of that. Just the little compensation that you do with your gate man, it has effect on the economy. Then you have efficient allocation of labor. These are some of the benefits of compensation. Principles of compensation, you have the external relativities, individual worth, and salaries. Okay, so external relativities is when you are dealing with compensation based on market rates. Okay, so everybody's paying this. For instance, in the public sector, we say grade level 8, I believe level 8 across the major civil servant ministries, they pay them almost the same thing. That's comparing one ministry to another. In the bank, almost everybody at the same level is collecting almost the same thing. It's called market rates. They have the individual what I talked about, the personal bargaining power. Okay, the ability to decide your own value. Okay, and then you have the salaries, which can also be done on collective bargaining. All right. Okay, so there are quite a number of things here. Okay, in compensation, we have this theory of compensation that we call the valence instrumentality expectancy theory that was developed by Victor Vroom long time ago. So the valence stands for value. Instrumentality is the belief that if we do one thing, it will lead to another. And expectancy is the probability that the action or effort will lead to an outcome. Now, in driving performance, this is what we want to have. Performance is principally a compensation for value delivered. And the person is believing that for delivering this value and I'm getting this compensation, I have expectations that at the end of the day, both parties actually have expectation that at the end of the day, this is what we want to achieve. So according to the valence instrumentality theory, there is value and there is an instrumentality to get that value delivered. And then there's an expectation that by offering this value through this instrumentality, I should have certain outcomes, both for the person receiving the value and the person creating the value. That's the valence instrumentality theory. So if you use valence instrumentality theory for your performance management or your compensation management, it's a simple thing. You draw your line into 3. You have your value expected, the instrumentality, that's the compensation you want to use, and then the outcomes, that's the performance you want to see. So value, what do you want to give it? What do you want to, which approach are you going to use to make sure that you get the best of that value? Okay, and then what will be the outcome from delivering that particular value? Okay, so for instance, I say value, maximum security, instrumentality will pay you 100,000 naira per month, provide you accommodation, give you food and all of that. That's the instrumentality we want to use. What do we want to see at the end of the day? We want to see maybe our KPI should be no loss. When there is no loss, no attacks, we write out all the things we want to see, okay, as the performance, okay, no embarrassment for visitors and all of that, okay. We'll look at timeliness to work and all of those things, okay. Ooh. Another thing about compensation planning is that compensation can also be benchmarked. Compensation can be benchmarked. Compensation can be benchmarked. In benchmarking compensation, you have the planning phase, you have the analysis phase, you have the integration phase, and then you have the action phase. Okay, you have the action phase. In the planning phase, that's when you decide what will, when you're trying to decide on what needs to be done. So you're collecting data on how to take the decision on the salary or perhaps compensation benchmark you want to have. And after you've collected all those information, you analyze them and come up with a decision, then integrate the decision to your own work systems and then take an action. The action becomes the implementation phase of that benchmark. Okay. Some organizations, if we take the public service, for example, again, there is a benchmark for each level. So if you're in level 8, there is a benchmark. Irrespective of the ministry you find yourself, that's the benchmark. Okay. The ministry you find yourself might decide to do something different, but not as to what the federal government will pay you. No. The department can decide to do something for you, but when you receive your salary from this ministry, that's the same thing the other person from the other ministry will receive. That's a benchmark. You can't go above that. But based on ministry differences, department can decide to do some things for their staff. All right. So the same thing applies to organizations. Organizations, we have industry benchmarks. Like I said, in the banking industry, for instance, tellers have a particular benchmark. Okay, they may give you a range for benchmark. They will say, okay, for tellers, incoming between 75 to 120. So no matter the kind of bank you want to go in Nigeria, if you're going to be a teller, you don't expect anything more than 120. I'm just giving an instance. I'm not saying that is the case. All right, I'm just giving an instance. Okay. Okay, so in the planning phase, you have information collected. What will be benchmark? Who will be the benchmark? Who will be the benchmark companies, and who will the data? How will the data be collected? So when you're benchmarking in comparison to another. Okay, like I said, in ministries you have ministry A, B, C. So you're benchmarking ministry A against ministry B, B against C, bank A against B, bank B against C. So you have companies you want to benchmark. Of course, the companies you want to benchmark the benchmark will be a function of what kind of performance do they have, what kind of staff do they have, what kind of productivity do they drive. Okay, because you must know what make up their salary component before you say you're benchmarking. And those same components must also be found in your own salary components. All right. Then the analysis phase, I think I've already talked about it. And then I've talked about the integration phase and the action phase. Now, let me look at compensation plan very, very shortly, and then we will move on. Compensation plan. Let's look at what the compensation plan should contain. Okay, let's look at what the compensation plan should contain. God is good. God is a good God. Okay, a compensation plan. All the components of organizational compensation. The compensation plan comprises of all the components that you want to see in your organizational plan. The organizational compensation, all the components. So the components, you can have salaries, bonuses, commission, incentives, allowances, and all of that. Training and development, security, all of that. A well-designed compensation plan helps ensure equity within the organization. That we say equity, we did not say equality, we say equity. Okay, equality is different from equity. If we say equality, we are trying to say, okay, everybody should have the same thing. We are saying equity, everybody should be treated fairly according to their contribution to the organization, right? Okay. A suitably designed compensation plan, missing both strategic and statutory perspective, optimizes the cost of compensation and simultaneously help the organization achieve a strategic intent. So from here, you can see that there are strategic compensation packages and there are statutory. I've mentioned the statutory packages like you investing in pension, in social insurance, which other one? ITF, industrial training for your staff, and several others. Then you have the strategic approaches where you talk about things like, I gave the instance of that particular engineer, my sister's husband. You enter there, they gave you a house, and you can, at first you're there, you keep paying till the day you decide to finish, it's just for you. But that particular package, that's a strategic way of also compensating. Okay. Okay. Certain mistakes in compensation. First, an organization often finds it difficult to distinguish between a bonus and an incentive. The second mistake is the compensation design is the propensity of organization to solve compensation claims on an ad hoc basis. And the third mistake occurs when organization devise equity participation plans that are too complicated. Equity, when you have equity participation plans that are too complicated. So let's take the first one, distinguishing between bonus and incentive. Bonus is, when we say bonus is more like after, incentive is before. Bonus is after, incentive is before. Bonus is when you meet this particular plan, or for meeting this particular plan, will give you this bonus. Incentive is for meeting this, okay, bonus is for meeting this, we'll give you this. But incentive is before we give you this, you have to do this. Okay? Incentive motivates. Bonus, most often bonus is not expected. Bonus comes as a company's will. Okay, we are giving you this before because you were able to achieve this. So it's more of a pro effect. But incentive is a pre-effect. Incentive is a pre-effect. Bonus is a pro effect. Okay. So do I need to talk about all this series again? So we talk about the Marx, the Marxian economics. Marx theory. That's one of the Karl Marx. That's one of the basic theories we'll talk about in economics. One of the most impressive theories that we'll talk about. This school considers labor as the basic source of all value. Labor produces more than that needed for subsistence. Labor produces more than needed for subsistence. That means if you're giving, if you go back to the Valence instrumentality theory, Valence said for every value given and for every instrumentality taken to motivate that value, there should be an outcome, right? That's the same thing that Karl Marx is trying to say. For giving him my labor, I expect to have value that will keep me surviving, that will help me to meet my needs. The excess is what in Marxian terminology is known as surplus value, which contributes to capital accumulation. So for the value that I give, I expect to have value, surplus value, okay? Depriving workers from above subsistence level wages in their exploitation. Okay, I think what this is trying to say is that depriving workers from the above subsistence level wages is exploitation. Okay, you're no longer doing what you're supposed to do. It now becomes exploitative. Then we have the neoclassical school of thought that considers wages as a price like any other factor of production, which is determined by the market forces. So we have the market rates. Labor supply depends on this utility, hence it needs to be overcome by wages as an incentive. Okay. On the contrary, demand for labor depends on marginal productivity of labor, which declines with the application of every unit of additional labor. Okay, so for neoclassical school of thought, labor depends, labor should have a price like every other form of production, every other factor of production. So if you buy raw material, also pay for labor, okay, accordingly. Okay, so more of what we see here is that labor end up being calculated across as wages, maybe on hourly basis, on weekly basis, but it should be, compensation should be as we have it in the other forms of capital, in the other forms of the factors of production. Okay, so if you are going to pay for land, also pay for labor accordingly. Then we have the marginalist school. It is an extension of the neoclassical thought, which advocates the law of diminishing marginal productivity. At the equilibrium wage rate, aggregate supply of labor get fully absorbed. That is the stage of full employment. Hence, wage rate gets adjusted implicitly to the full employment level. That is actually more of what we see in the government kind of employment. Okay, so there is a people just want to get employed because they want to just break even. Okay, if I can eat, wear clothes, take care of my children, so that's all. So that's just like an equilibrium rate. What you got is what you spent. All right, and then with time, it start getting adjusted. Okay, like now we're trying to adjust minimum wage to 60,000, right? That's adjustment. Then we have the Keynesian school of thought, based on the sales law, subscribes to the view that supply creates its own demand. Supply of labor creates its own demand. Hence, contrary to the belief that whatever is saved is automatically invested, no. The Keynesian school suggests that the level of employment is dependent upon aggregate demand. At full employment, the level of income and consumption gets adjusted with investment. So Keynesian does not really believe in the supply. Nigeria will have excess supply of labor, okay, but that does not in a way contribute to investment. I hope you get, in Nigeria now, we have excess supply of labor. The labor volume in Nigeria is more than the demand. But that does not, they will have excess supply of labor, does not in a way contribute to investment. The only investment we have is the labor that makes for the investment, the labor that is absorbed and is producing results. That's the labor that is invested. But the labor that is uninvested cannot be considered as an investment. That's what the Keynesian school is trying to say. A labor that is not providing value shouldn't be considered as an investment. Okay. Okay, then we'll have also what we call the Phillips curve. Like I said, when you get your material, you have a whole lot to read about. Phillips curve tried to create a balance between the wage rate and the level of employment. Phillips, based on the empirical study of British economy, concluded that the wage rate start rising once the level of employment is increased. He observed an inverse relationship between level of unemployment and the rate of increase of the wage level. So what Philip is trying to say is that if the wage rate is high, there's a possibility that labor demand will go down. If the wage rate is high, labor demand will go down somehow. That's what we call it at the inverse proportion. Okay, so as the wage rate starts rising, once the level of employment is increased, but it will come to a point that it will start reversing. So if an organization pays higher than expected in the industry, they are possibly going to have lower number of staff than others that pay lesser. When they are increasing the wage rate, they want to have the best of brains. And as soon as they get that, as soon as they get the number they want, okay, the wage rate is pegged, and then they may not want to have more. So at that point, there might be an inverse proportion, a decline. While others may go on increasing their wage, increasing their labor volume, they may just want to stabilize there. Okay. And somehow it's just a normal thing that if your staff level start increasing, the possibility of increasing wage rate is low. If your staff strength is increasing, let's say your staff strength, you started with 10 and you are paying them 50,000 naira per month, and then you went to 20 staff, the possibility to pay everybody there 50,000 is slim. So the more people you hire, there's a possibility that there will be some level of inverse proportion. Okay, inverse proportion. But if performance is in view, this theory might be dissolved. Valuation of employee compensation. Value can be determined by answering the following question. Does the cost to the employer equal the value to the employee? I think we just mentioned that now. This is one of the things you want to consider. What if the employee had to purchase the same benefit in the market? That particular thing you want to give to the customer. What if there are other possible ways you can get them from the market? In the market here, we're talking about the labor market generally. What if the employer wants to compare the cost of benefit package of his employee to another employee or another industry? No, that is comparison. Okay, comparing, benchmarking through comparison. How does the value of benefit compute into total compensation? Equity in employment benefit. Economic theories on employee compensation and benefits frequently conflict. Neoclassical economists argue that market competition is the best premise on which to base employee compensation. On the other hand, institutional game theory or the Marxist theory approaches, Marxist approaches argue that markets may not always be competitive. To reduce the problem of inequity, there is a need to ensure fair rules of pricing with government interventions. Productivity-linked employee benefits. Productivity from an economic point of view, production refers to yield from. Productivity refers to yield from, that's value derived from, okay? So yield from each factor of production, yield from each input to put in production, yield from overall yield of the joint factors and resources enumerated above in combination. So it could be yield from each of the factors of production, each of the input, or the overall combination of all of the resources put together. Factors to improve productivity: the nature and quality of raw materials you use, the basic nature of processes employed, plants and equipment employed, efficiency of plant and equipment, volume, continuity, and uniformity of production, utilization of manpower. Productivity measurements. You have the OmniFactor model for productivity measurement. This model gives a composite productivity index for all input and output costs of all products, while input costs are taken for all. Output costs are determined on average marginal cost method. Oh, we need to go for a break now. We have the surrogate model. This model primarily considers some qualitative factors to measure productivity, factors such as satisfaction of investors, employees, customers, suppliers are considered in qualitative terms. So productivity can be measured in the OmniFactor, where we measure based on marginal costs, or it can be measured based on satisfaction of the stakeholders involved. Linking wages to productivity based on these two models yields better results, as organizations can objectively price labor, and labor can also get its legitimate share of productivity gain. All right, so let's go for a 5 minutes break. Now we'll come back. Okay, so let's make it 10 minutes. 10 minutes break. When we'll come back, we'll continue. So let's go for a 10 minutes break. And when we'll come back, we continue from where we stop. All right. Okay, see you. Now we'll come back. All right, good afternoon once again, and welcome back to class. I trust we all enjoyed our break. Okay, let me be sure we're all in class. So please, if you can hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 1 in the chat room. If you can hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 1 in the chat room. You're still with me, please kindly type 1 in the chat room. Okay. All right, thank you. So where is ladder in general? Where is ladder in general? I will give them a reminder. Okay, so before we went on break, we were talking about compensation management, and we are still talking about compensation. So let's quickly look at compensation and job design. Let's quickly look at compensation and job design. Compensation and job design. Compensation and job design. So like I said earlier, compensation is actually a function of the work or the job that has been designed. So the design of the job in terms of job description and job specification, and also the performance, the KPI has a way of determining the benefits and the compensation that comes with a particular job. So quickly, let's look, or let's continue with our discussion. Let's continue with our discussion, and then we'll be rounding up in a moment. We'll be rounding up in a moment. So I have McDonald's as a case study. McDonald's recruitment process is continuous. All candidates need to fill an online application form, which contains some AC type questions. After initial screening, the company contacts promising applicants within 2 days, and the candidates have to complete online personality questionnaire. If the candidate is selected, they call the applicant to go through the assessment center, which McDonald's refers to on-the-job experience. It is an ideal opportunity for candidates to assess whether McDonald's is the right place for them to work. The candidate is finally invited to a final interview with an operations manager. It is more of a chat than a formal interview. McDonald's can do this effectively because of its well-documented job design, perfect alignment of jobs to their core values, and standard level of services and quality worldwide. Job design and compensation. For compensation design and management, effective job design, information and documentation of job analysis, job descriptions, and job evaluations are important prerequisites. Okay, so we've talked about the job analysis, job descriptions, job specification, job evaluation in previous lessons. So I may not have to go through them here, but what we're trying to establish is, that job compensation is tied to the design of the job. So how good we design the job will determine how compensation will also go. All right. So I don't need to go through all of this again. We've already dealt with all of this. Okay, so when you get your material, you can go through this again. You can just review the job design. And these job design approaches, they are quite practical enough to help us go through. So for instance, in the job methodologies, job assessment methodologies used by McDonald's. You have the assessment centers where they are majorly interested in attracting people, impressing them to work with them, and then selecting the people and then recruiting. So attract, you have the best designs of the job and you put them up for advert, and then people get to be drawn to it and they apply. And say after they are applied, they go further to have personality tests and some other tests to verify that yes, they are the right people they want. So after they've selected the right group of people that they want, they take them through the Impress process where they take them to the on-job experience center where they experience the job firsthand and then determine or decide if McDonald's is where they would like to work. And after which they go for further form of interaction with the operations, one of the operations managers, and at the end of the day, they select, they recruit. So we can also use some of this. Now, how do we design assessment centers? Number one, human resource strategy. The design should reflect your human resource strategy, extent to which recruitment is devolved to line managers, reflect potential sources of recruitment, reflect actual skills required to carry out the job design, and reflect the ethos of the organization. In this case, the do's and don'ts. Okay, so we are done with all of these processes in subsequent classes. Permit me to just move on. Okay, we've also done the performance appraisal, how to determine performance and all of that. So what we're doing now is like more of compiling all of the things we've done before. Yesterday, we talked about the steps involved in performance appraisal. We talked about setting standards, okay, setting and communicating standards. So we still have that here again. Okay, so this particular material helps us further in understanding the setting and communicating standards. In setting standards, these are some of the things you consider. Your standards, are they realistic? Are the standards specific? Are the standards based on measurable data? Are the standards consistent with organizational goals? Are the standards challenging? Are the standards clean and understandable? Are the standards dynamic? So these are some of the objectives or perhaps the checklist you want to use when setting and communicating performance standards. Effective performance modeling. Effective performance modeling. Effective performance enables the management to be specific that the end results are not arbitrary, but a summation of all different activities and processes giving an attainable standard of performance. For performance model to work, employee performance appraisal criteria must be aligned with the performance matrix. If an employee performs well, such performance is directly linked to process performance and to department and division performance, as well as the ultimate goals of the company. Okay, so let's see the performance management system. Yesterday, when we were talking about performance appraisal, we also mentioned that we have automated systems of performance. And the example of such is performance management system. What it does is to provide the manager or the management with data to help them make decisions in terms of performance to the organization. On its own, it doesn't take decisions for the organization, but it can help them with the data to make decisions. So what are the features of PMS? You have objective stating, review of objectives, personal improvement plans, alignment with training and development, formal appraisal with feedback, peer review, competency-based organizational capability. So these are some of the features you find there. And all of these things at the end of the day provides the manager or the management with data to make decisions towards improving the HR in the organization. Various dimensions of performance, you have output or result dimension, output or result-based dimension to performance management. You have the input dimensions, performance measured on the basis of what the person is putting in or what is being put in. In some cases, when you want to develop products, the quality is measured the quality of the output is measured based on the quality of inputs used. So you can have decisions or quality. You can have performance measured in terms of the quality input that is being put to deliver the output. They also have the time dimensions. Time can also be used as a measure of performance. Okay, time can also be used as a measure of performance. But with time, as research keep going on and as we keep evolving, I will keep discovering some new things that time does not necessarily mean performance. However, you can tie performance to a particular time range and make sure that you provide the necessary supervision to make sure that it delivers within that period. That somebody, a teacher went to school 8 to 4 or 8 to 2 p.m. does not mean that that teacher is a performing teacher. But there must be tasks, there must be events, there must be responsibilities attached within that time. That after he finishes that particular assignment within the time allocated, we can then talk about performance based on time. Okay. There are focus dimensions, quality dimensions, cost dimensions, results, and output dimension. Compensation broadbanding using the performance management result. Compensation broadbanding is a type of salary program that replaces multiple grades and ranges with a limited number of wide range. Employee move through salary ranges without traditional promotions or job delineations based on individual skill attainment and expansion of duties rather than on any prescribed time pattern. Broad banding reduces trade levels and job titles, combining multiple job levels into a single range. So you see things like operations manager, marketing manager, what do you call the other one again? Operations, marketing, sales, business development manager, which other one? HR manager. Everybody in that particular band gets a range of salary. So whether they move you from operations to marketing, or they move you from marketing to sales, or they move from sales to business development, it doesn't change anything. There's a band, a range that has already been established for you. They will have compensation design through skill-based program, where the higher your skill, the higher your pay. Of course, that's if the skill has benefits to the organization. It rewards employees for attainment of additional skills and knowledge. In 2020 or 2021? Yeah. We had a training. It was an online training as this. And then this particular group came from CBN. They came from CBN. One person saw the advert and decided to connect and introduce others. So while we were in class, I said to them, I think I was part of the faculty that took that class, and I said, that when you're done with your program, go and update your resume. Go and update what? Your resume. Of course, part of performance management system is resume update, right? You update your skills and all of that. And this particular young man, he was then the training coordinator at CBN school, academy, CBN Academy in Lagos. While he was in Lagos, he was still coordinating Abuja and Lagos. And he actually did. He finished his course, submitted the certificates to his organization, and then they wrote to us to verify the certificate. Of course, we did all the verifications. And then not long, barely 3 months after that particular event, he got a promotion. Before, he was serving as a coordinator. And then he told me, when they promoted him, they moved him to Abuja. From Lagos, they moved him to Abuja. So he's now in Abuja. And they gave him a higher position anyway. I can't remember exactly. But when he came to Abuja, one of the first places he came to was our office. Okay, he came to our office. And since then, he do bring other staff to come and also enjoy what he enjoyed. So what am I trying to say? Some organizations might not tell you go and get a new certification, go and get a new skill. But if you're able to get and you update your resume accordingly, they give you the promotions, they give you the benefits associated to what you have done. So as I said to him then, I'm also saying to you, if it is not your organization that sent you, after you're done, please update accordingly and send back to your organization. Because they may decide to pay you back. Okay, I think for those of them in CBN, then they reimburse them their trading fees. And then they also give them promotion. Okay. One of them was a deputy director when she came. I think now she's a director. One was an assistant director. She's now a deputy director and all of that. So they reimburse them and they still give them promotion. Okay. So some organizations are such that they pay you based on your skills. They pay you based on your certifications, based on your licensing and the likes. Okay, I know some people say, my organization doesn't send you. If you like, go and carry all the work, become a professor. It doesn't concern them. Okay, become a professor. It doesn't concern. It doesn't concern them. Sorry, please. I'm having some. Sorry. Okay, moving forward, we have the major obstacles to introduce the skill-based pay can be listed below. You have the problem of defining skill sets. Okay, so NSCDC, their new, one of their new policies that they are going to be doing everything now based on performance. And one of the things they've introduced is that all the NSCDC staff, they must be involved in professional training. Whether you like it or not, you must be involved in professional training. But one of the things they've not been able to define extensively is what kind of professional training are we going to be involved in? Is it any kind of professional training? Okay, so defining the skill sets most often could be a challenge. Then pricing skill sets. Yeah, somebody went and did human resource management professional course. Another person went and did maybe computer science. Another person went and did ICANN. Are you going to place all in the same pricing list, or would there be a band? Would there be differences? They have validation of skills recertification tests. Most certifications after three years, you're expected to recertify. Okay, so I will tell you 5 years. Okay, you're expected to recertify. I'm an accredited management consultant and a chartered management consultant. Ours is every 3 years. After every 3 years, you're meant to go back and get your certification. Okay. Skills obsolescence. When skills are obsolete, and it is because of skills obsolete that they bring a skill recertification. So even if the skills are obsolete, you go back, learn again, and then come back. Then high cost of training could also be a problem. Increased payroll costs, regulatory bottlenecks, and so on and so forth. Now I have the competency-based pay. The competency-based pay and the skills-based pay is almost in the same domain. So why the competency is more like a total approach, dealing with both knowledge, skills, abilities. The skill base is majorly the skill domain, but the competency is the overall, okay, dealing with an aggregate of all of the knowledge, skills, and abilities of the employees, okay? Okay, I'm trying as much as I can to run. I've mentioned the compensation negotiation today. To talk about compensation management without referring to the process of negotiating and bargaining, that is an integral part of compensation, is impossible. It's, as anybody who has worked in the formal or even the informal sector knows, the process of negotiating one's salary and pegs is fundamental to the process of hiring and selection. Place in place. The first element of negotiation is to plan for the process by deciding on how much you want and how much you think the employer is willing to give. The fine art of knowing how much you should ask for and at what point you should strike the deal is something that experienced professionals know, and rookies should learn. Without having a clear idea of the target level of compensation that you are aiming for, the negotiation process will turn out to be an exercise in futility. There is one of us here, one of our faculty members, about 2 years ago, that should be 2021, yeah, 2021, he got this appointment okay, if you had listened to the lecture I sent to you in the morning, he was the one there. He was the one talking there. Okay. So he got this appointment then on a UNDP assisted project. So it was a UNDP, one of those assisted projects. So he got a contractual appointment to serve as a HR consultant for a particular multinational firm. He did that for 1 year plus. And then while he was doing that, now I wanted to see something. While he was doing that as a consultant. So while he was doing that, he can still have time to do other things. He can still have time to go for lectures. If you call lectures weekday, he can just take 2 hours and come and take his lectures and then return back to work. So he had benefit of time to himself. Then after he left, he got into another job. Now this is a full-time job. The other one was a consulting-based job. Now this is a full-time job. And now he's looking for time. He's looking for time. Okay. So when you're negotiating, it's not just only salary you negotiate, you also negotiate time. Negotiate time. It's not just salary you negotiate, you also negotiate what? You negotiate time, because time is everything. Okay. Attrition and compensation. I think I've mentioned that in a way that if you want to have high retention, then you must have a good compensation plan. Now, low compensation and attrition, of course, if the compensation is low, attrition will be high. If compensation is high, attrition will be low. So the higher the compensation, the lower the attrition. The lower the compensation, the higher the attrition. Okay, so this is very, very important. So I think with that, I can move to the next slide. We have the Herzberg hygiene factor, which is a theory of motivation. So the Herzberg theory of motivation lists hygiene factors as those conditions when absent cause an employee to be dissatisfied. The point about this theory is that factors like adequate compensation, a congenial working environment, and additional benefits are necessary to motivate the employee, and they ought to be present to keep the employee happy. This is the thing I'm talking about when I say work environment. This is what I mean. An environment that has adequate compensation, congenial working environment, additional benefits. Those are the kind of work environment I'm talking about. The absence of such factors make the employee lose focus and drive, and hence lack of hygiene, which makes it difficult for the employee to continue. Managing expectation of managing compensation expectation. The appraisal time or the time of the year when employees are graded on performance is usually the time when employees put forth their aspirations and expectations regarding the compensation and other aspects of their jobs. Compensation in recent years has ceased to be the be-all of employee satisfaction with the nature of work and responsibilities that an employee has becoming more important in determining job satisfaction. It is still one of the most important factors behind an employee's decision to quit. Compensation is still one of the decisions why organizations quit, if not the number one. The line managers and the HR managers must make it a point to manage the expectations of the employees during this period. The attrition is usually the highest when employees are handed their raise letters that specify how much their compensation increase. This is because the employee might expect more than what they have been awarded. which leads to dissatisfaction. It is incumbent upon HR professionals and the senior management that they devise compensation plans, keeping in mind that the various factors that drive an employee's psyche, only when an employee is satisfied with his or her condition in a company can they perform at the desired levels. So HR professionals should know what expectations employees are having and try as much as they can, not necessarily to meet all conditions, but to always strike a balance so that it will not be as though, it will not be as though expectations are dashed. This is what we consider in, let's take components of compensation. This is what we actually see in compensation component. You have the base salary, you have the annual incentives, or let's say incentives, whether it's annual or not annual. You have the long capital accumulation, like your gratuity, your pension, and all of that. Then you have deferred compensation arrangement, supplemental benefit and perquisites. And then you have the special severance and retirement arrangement. These are some of the benefits that you have. Emerging trends in executive compensation, increase in the number of corporate collapses, is now dragging executive pay and corporate governance into the public domain. Business conditions are putting pressures on existing pay levels and structures. Corporate restraint and accountability in tough economic times make executive compensation a major issue to control. Executive compensation movement, as the median of the market, are getting subdued over the years. So there is pressure on executive compensation. When we say executive compensation, we're talking about the top level management compensation. So from the CEO to the board and others in that category, okay? And of course, we see issues of compensation on companies saying their CEOs are earning beyond what they are doing and all of that. And Nigerian corporate governance is trying to institutionalize a level that must be allowable for executive compensation. Okay. Executive compensation design process links compensation criteria such as organizational performance or size to compensation consequences such as pay at risk. Such processes is categorized into two forms: process that centers on contract and the process that involves direct monitoring of the executive. Organizations that follow the contract process make it a time-bound employment offer, which becomes a large arrangement. Direct monitoring is a behavioral approach to monitor the performance of the executive. It is a subjective evaluation. Performance measurement in executive incentive programs. There are certain criteria that that incentive performance measures should ideally meet. They should be capable of being aligned with stakeholders, shareholders' interests. They should be definable, measurable, controllable, easily communicated, and understood. Different criteria of executive compensation have the strategy criterion, role and position criterion, individual characteristics criterion, performance criterion, behavior criterion, size criterion, market criterion, and peer compensation criteria. So these are the different criteria that one can use for executive compensation. Sales compensation plan for those in the sales commission-based kind of remuneration. Before designing sales compensation plan, managers need to understand the sales function. The financial performance of an organization depends on the sales executive's performance. Hence, sales compensation need to be different as it is largely incentive-based. For managers, an understanding of sales functions involves the study of the various activities involved in the sales from the beginning. The issues with sales compensation. Sales are lifeline of the organization. Sales directly help in achieving the organizational goals and objectives. Hence, when organizations need to achieve an accelerated pace of growth, a strategic design of sales compensation without altering the overall compensation structure can help achieve the objective. Sales compensation plan varies from one organization to another depending on their practices. Salary is considered as right option. A commission of sale is also considered as the other alternative model of sales compensation. A straight way or a straight salary plan is simple to administer, and it also provides security to the sales executive as their pay is not at risk. Sales compensation design and administration. Although no model on sales compensation program which applies uniformly across organizations exists, some common types or common steps are adopted for a sales compensation design, such as identification of realistic and challenging sales goals, translating sales goals into measurable objectives, and finally designing sales competition which is competitive and motivational for the employees. Designing an effective sales compensation plan. You have the basic understanding of the sales job description. You have understanding of the objectives for which sales is set. You have understanding of the controllable and measurable element of the sales function. Then you have to determine the level of compensation for each of these controllable and measurable element of the sales function. Then you deal with the understanding of the compensation methods. Is it going to be a straight salary, straight commission, a combination of both? You have to find out. And then you have the pilot testing of the design method, and then have a rollout of the plan. Components of sales compensation, you have salary, base salary, short-term incentives linked with short-term goals, long-term incentive linked with annual target, requisites to support sales initiatives, incentives in the form of sales commission. Okay. Now we have the contribution-based sales compensation. A contribution-based sales compensation benefits the organization in the following ways. Number one, it gives an opportunity to the sales personnel or the sales personnel to earn with no limit or a payment ceiling without straining the organization compensation budget. And then number two, it makes recruitment of sales executives more flexible, and the organization can avoid payment to those who fail to perform. Yeah. Then you have it ensures long-term profitability as it enhances the performance of the organization and make it financially stable. As we begin to round up, we have strategic compensation management. 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 By next week, okay, not next week. The last week of August, I think 29th of August to September 2nd, we'll be having a course on strategic management. It's going to be an awesome course, and it's a course I will recommend to anyone in the management field, especially in this time that we are. I've said over and over again, strategy. Organizations are just as strategic as they are. The performance of organization is based on their strategy. So the strategy of an organization tells you whether they are going to succeed or not, whether they are going to be sustainable or not. We are having that program 29th to September 2nd, and I recommend everyone to join us there. We have extensive lecturers that will be taking us in that program. It's more of going to be an online-based class because all the people dealing with those, some are not in Nigeria. In fact, not all the faculty members are in Nigeria. So I recommend us, that course is a good one. And the fee is 150,000. It's it's also for 5 days. Yeah, for 5 days. And I promise you that after that class or after that course, you will understand so much about quite a number of things about management, and can easily play around with management. Okay. 29th of August to September 2nd. So plan to be part of that. Plan to be part of that course. In case you've never made up your mind to be part of it. Just plan to be part of it. You just plan to be part of it. All right. Okay, where are we? Strategy. And of course, for those of us in IPM, if you run trip, if you want, we have a program that we call a mini masters program, mini masters in management development. If you don't have a mini masters in management development yet, you are expected to do minimum of 3 courses with IPM, and then you get a mini masters in management development. So if you want a mini masters in management, you need to do at least 3 courses, any 3 of our courses. But we recommend that whatever thing you do, there need to be at least HR management or project management or strategic management. So if you do these 3, wonderful. But if you have any of these 3 and you wish to do any other 2 courses to get your mini masters in management, that would be awesome. Okay, but we recommend you must have at least project management. In the 3 courses you must do, you must have at least project management, human resource management, or strategic management. If you end up having the 3, that would be awesome. All right? That would be awesome. Okay, and if you're taking 3 programs with IPM at a stretch, if you're taking 3 programs with IPM at a stretch, you get 50% discount at your 4th program. Your 4th program, you get a 50% discount. Okay, at your 4th program, you get a 50% discount. At your 4th program, you get a 50% discount. But there's also another way to get additional discounts. You could become a member of IPM and then have a discount in all of your programs. And at your 4th program per year, you also get 50% discount on your already discounted program. So assuming this program we're having now, members pay 150, non-members pay 175. So assuming this is going to be your 4th program for the year, you are going to pay 50% of 150, which is about 75,000. All right. So I'm trying to let us know of all of these things so that we can see how to make the most of it. Please, let's be reminded, our mini induction is coming up. Our special induction for the year is coming up September 20th, between September 20th and 21st. So in case you wish to be a member, join us there. If you're already a member, join us there. It's a free program for members, so members are entitled to join us for free, but you must have paid your annual subscription, okay, before you join us for free. So strategy is a pattern of decisions concerning policies and practices associated with an organizational design. Understanding organizational systems help in formulating strategies. Strategies need to be formulated in each functional area of an organization and also at each level of an organization. So this is what we are going to spend 5 days to be discussing. You have strategy at national level, strategy at industry level, strategy at global level, strategy at company level, strategy at individual level. Then you now come to organization, strategy at operational level, marketing level, business development level, project development level, sales level, customer service level. You have all strategy in all phases. Okay, strategy in all phases. And it's good if we take that time to learn about strategy and how to apply it. And of course, by the end of the day, you become a certified strategic management professional. That's adding to your portfolio also. In the schools, different schools of thought, we have the prescriptive school, where we have design, planning, and positioning school. So we have the school of thought of strategy that talks about strategy design, strategy planning, and strategy positioning. We'll deal with all of this in depth in the strategy class. Then we have the descriptive school of strategy, where we have the where we use entrepreneurship as a part of strategy. Of course, when I started this class, I think that was the first day, I talked about how the federal government, through FC, Federal Civil Service strategy and implementation plan. They are introducing entrepreneurship across different departments. Okay, that is part of the strategy for driving sustainability and driving quick transition from paid employment to self-employment. Let me use it that way. They have also a strategy based on cognitive abilities, mental capacity. Okay, it's believed that people with high mental abilities should be able to have higher strategies. They have strategies through learning, strategies through power, cultural, driving strategy through cultural, driving strategy through environmental approaches, then configuration, driving strategy through configuration, patterns, trends, events, configuring them to understand how to make the best of those. So I'm going to move. Compensation design and strategy. Organizational practices is strategically designing the compensation structure. Organizational practices in strategically designing the compensation structure vary widely. In fact, compensation is designed with the influence of more than one school of thought. While framing compensation strategies, the organizational design should align its policies, or the organization design should, perhaps, the organization should align its policies and strategies with its strategy. When we were dealing with essentials of human resource management, remember I kept saying that these HR strategies must align with business strategy. Okay, HR strategies must align with business strategy. This will ensure fulfillment of role expectations for employees within the organization. So we have strategy across levels. We have this corporate level strategy, which focuses on resource allocation, structural and financial aspect, and overall scope of an organizational activity. Then we have the strategies framed at middle level, which deal with strategies for meeting and satisfying customer needs, product and service development strategies, matching with market requirements, and then we have the market competition strategies. Still on strategy compensation design, we have organizational design compensation in a flexible, competitive, and performance-oriented way by adopting the following processes: looking into the history of the organizations to understand the principles and norms, focusing on performance management, structure setting and adjustment, implementing the new strategically designed compensation plan. They are using various work groups to understand issues and also matching with the legislative regulatory norm within the confines of the industry. Strategic compensation policies to achieve and maintain consistency, equity, and fairness in evaluating and compensating employees. To reward, these are the benefits of why we need strategic compensation policies: to achieve and maintain consistency, equity, and fairness in evaluating and compensating our employees, to reward employees based on their experience and performance, to reward employees based on their support of organization-specific mission strategies and operating plan, to allow attraction and retention of high-quality professional employee. Then let's look at the quantitative tools and innovation in compensation management. We have the variable compensation, part of the tools. We have the variable compensation. Variable pay is employee compensation that changes as compared to salary, which is paid in equal proportion throughout the year. Variable pay is used generally to recognize and reward employee contribution towards company productivity, profitability, teamwork, safety, quality, or some other metric deemed important. So sometimes you have in variable pay, you have actually a base pay. So you may have a base pay of say 200,000, and then there are other things that go based on the activities involved in the company. You can have other variable pay. So you can have variable pay that comes in, maybe someone now earns 230,000. The 30,000 becomes maybe benefits associated to traveling allowance, training allowance. Another time he may get 210. If you ask, to say is benefits that you got by doing so, and all of that. The employee who is awarded variable compensation has gone above and beyond his or her job description to contribute to organization success. Then you have the other tool of incentives. Incentives are the additional payment to the employees beside the payment of wages and salaries. Often, Incentives are linked with productivity, either in terms of high production or cost saving, or both. These incentives may be given on individual basis or group basis. They have the fringe benefits. Fringe benefits include such benefits which are provided to the employees, either having long-term impact like provident fund, gratuity, pension, or occurrence of certain events like medical benefits, accident relief, health and life insurance, or facilitation in performance of job like uniforms, canteens, recreation, and so on. These are fringe benefits. They have the perquisites, perks at work, perquisites. These are normally provided to managerial personnel, either to facilitate their job performance or to retain them in the organization. Such perquisites include company car, club membership, free residential accommodation, paid holiday trips, stock options, and so on and so forth. Need for rational wage policy. Why do we have to get a rationale for wage policy? Formulation of rational wage policy continues to be on one of the most important and significant social demands. Either, perhaps earlier, it formed the basic responsibility of employer, but with the industrial progress, wage bargain has become a matter of concern for the employer, employee, and the state. Any rational wage policy has hence been woven into the socioeconomic texture, reflecting the objectives and aspirations of the people of a particular country. It cannot be dealt with on purely economic considerations in isolation from social policy and political culture of that particular community. Just like what we're having now in the minimum wage. All of these are embedded in the minimum wage. Okay, the minimum wage will have political forces restraining the reforms. We have cultural factors like people culture, national culture interfering with that also. Economic objectives of wage policy. An important objective of any society is the achievement of maximum economic welfare. This requires the national income to be maximized. The national income should be divided equally among the members of the economy. And finally, there should be a fair amount of stability in the national income. Economic welfare gets maximized if the highest and most stable standard of living possible for each section of the community is attained. In order to secure this, it is necessary to achieve full employment and optimum allocation of all resources, the highest degree of economic stability consistent with an optimum rate of economic progress, maximum income security for all sections of the community. Remuneration administration, it should be developed keeping in view the interest of the employer, the employees, the consumers, and the community. Wage policy should be stated clearly in writing to ensure uniform and consistent application. Remuneration plans should be consistent with the overall plans of the company. Compensation planning should be an integral part of financial planning. Remuneration plans should be sufficiently flexible or responsive to changes in internal and external conditions of the organization. Management should ensure that employees know and understand the wage policy of the company. All remuneration decisions should be checked against the standards set in advance to the wage policy. Steps involved in designing remuneration plan, you have the executing. Okay, so you have the job analysis, job documentation, job hierarchy, pay survey, pricing jobs, and then executing the final plan. So you have the job analysis, job documentation, job hierarchy, pay survey, pricing jobs, and executing the final plan. Appraisals, new joiners, and pay increase. Okay, so I think we've done so much about appraisals. Let's move on a little bit. Payroll management. Payroll management. Most at times, when we say compensation management, the only thing people understand about compensation management is payroll. That's the only thing they want to hear. If you talk about compensation management and you've not talked about payroll, it seems as though you've not completed your class. So now let me complete my class by talking about payroll management system. And I don't know whether I've ever talked about that in this class before, but this is one of the admonition I give to people coming to my class. Please, as much as you can, try to find yourself taking some interesting courses around data analytics, because that is the future of the workplace today. One of the future of workplace, they will call it artificial intelligence, but part of artificial intelligence is data analytics. And part of what we do in data analytics is predictions. Okay, so how does data analytics play a part in payroll management? Payroll management, or perhaps, yeah, payroll management is 100% data driven. Okay, so you need to understand the systems, you need to understand the tools for data management. So we talk about Excel, we talk about, in fact, let's just go to the power tools. The power tools, you have your analytics tools, you have, under the analytics tools, you have things like Excel, you have things like Power BI, you have the Zoho Analytics, Google Analytics, and so much more. There is a course currently ongoing that is called the Google certification course for data analytics, data certification. I will encourage us to take on that project. It's very, when you check, look it up on Coursera, it's very cheap, you can learn. Okay, I think it's a 6 months course. Yeah, it's a 6 months course. It's a course you can actually do in 1 week, but because it's a practical course that you need to keep revising, they extended it to 6 months so that it can allow you time to practice and come back. Each of the modules, if I say this, that is funny. Each of the, I think it's about 6 modules or so, and each of the modules is like 3 hours. Is a recorded class, right? Each of the modules is like 3 hours, but that 3 hours in 1 week, you might not be able to get done with it because of the practicals involved. You need to learn them, master them before you move to the next. Okay, so let's go on. Payroll is a compensation record of each employee, which shows gross pay, deductions, and net pay. It also, I wanted to get that. What is involved in payroll? You have employees' gross pay, that's the total pay that comes to that person. They have the deductions, all the deductions expected. And then you have the net pay. So you can actually have a worksheet. You can create your own worksheet. Okay, you can have your own organizational worksheet. Okay, in Excel, for instance, or Google Sheets, or Zoho Analytics, any one you choose. Okay, but the one we know most is the Excel. So you can have an Excel sheet. You have your payroll management system for your organization. And then just with little computations, you can set your payroll system on autopilot. So you have your base pay, you have your deductions. If there are allowances, you put all the allowances. Okay, but to make it easier, you have your gross pay. Your gross pay is the total of all you get. So your base pay, your allowances, your everything, you put them inside in one place as gross pay. Then you have your deductions. Deductions in this case, you have deduction for sometimes organizations do the direct deduction, your tax, your pension, your social insurance. If you're doing housing, they deduct your housing mortgage. Yeah, that's deduction for housing, mortgage. Which other thing? Medical. So all the deductions that need to be done, it's not the same for all organizations, but the deductions that happen, just the same way that the gross, the component that make up the gross might not be the same across organizations. In the same way, deductions across organizations might not be the same. So when you have your gross, you have all your deductions. And then by subtracting your gross from all your deductions, or by subtracting your deductions from the gross, you have your net pay. You have your net pay. So in your payroll, we expect to see the gross pay, total gross. You have total deductibles, and then you have net pay. So what the employee goes home with is that net pay, not the gross. I hope you understand. What the employee goes home with is the net pay, not the gross. Not the gross. Okay. So somebody's salary might be 150,000, but at the end of the day, he's going home with 127,000. That 127,000 is a net pay, is not the gross pay. So if the company is reporting on the person's salary, they will still report 150,000. But by all the deductions, mandatory deductions, statutory deductions, the person goes home with 127 or maybe even less. Okay. All right. Am I sure we are all still together? Please, I would like to confirm that we are still all together. If you can still hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 11 in the chat room. If you can still hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 11 in the chat room. Okay, so one person has confirmed that she's still in class. If you can still hear me loud and clear, please kindly type 111 in the chat room. Type 11 in the chat room. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So let's move on. Quantitative analysis. In compensation designing and management, intuition is often used rather than mathematical systems. Certain norms are following in mathematical system. For example, the observation must be dependent. That is, one measurement should not bias the other. The measurement must be from a normally distributed population, the traditional bell-shaped curve. All these theories and all of that. International compensation as we round up. Globalization is now a reality for organizations. Start small, start local, but think global. That is now the norm. Okay, start local, but think global. There is this this feeling that is coming to Nigerians now. I don't think I would, the way we are looking at it, I don't think I would necessarily consider that as a good feeling. There is this slang going on now that if you're not earning in dollars in Nigeria, you are almost getting to the point of stagnation. Because $1 as of yesterday, $1 was 910 naira. It was 970 from 970 to 910. Okay. Hi. As well. It was quite shocking. One Ghana cedi. One Ghana cedi is almost 70 naira. One Ghana cedi. In the parallel markets, one Ghana cedi. So you have 150,000 naira to less than 3,000 Ghana cedi. That is touching. That is touching. Somebody was telling me about 2 days ago or thereabout. I was telling the person one Ghana cedi is about 68, 69 naira. And the person said, no, one naira, or perhaps 69 Ghana cedi is equal to 1 naira. I said, are you joking? It's like, it's been a while you checked your mathematics. He said, those days we were in school, they used to tell us 1 naira is 100 cedis. I said, that was those days, not now. The reverse is the case. Okay, the reverse is the case. We really need an overhauling to stabilize the Nigerian economy. We really need an overhauling. And if you are a Nigerian, it doesn't bother you. I don't know what else that will bother you. Okay, I don't know what else that will bother you. That the economy is nosediving on daily basis. We are quickly and steadily nosediving. We are not coming up. We are just going deep and deep and deep. Every one of us must take responsibility. to see how we can make this a reality. And one of the ways we can make this a reality is also taking our businesses global, being able to earn. So the ability for your company to earn, or for you to earn in foreign currencies, is not necessarily because you want to survive, no, but because your currency will be, your skills are exported, and then you gain hard currency to Nigeria. Okay, and that in a way stabilizes the country. If we have out of 200 million Nigerians, if we have 1 million Nigerians that earn $500 or £500 every month, okay, steadily, it will stabilize this. It will have a way of stabilizing this economy with time. That's, we export our skills and we are paid in hard currency. Every now and then, CBN tells you they don't have dollar. That is a shame. It's something we shouldn't be talking about. Okay, NNPC said they borrowed $3 billion to stabilize the impact of dollar. They borrowed $3 billion. That's because we don't have. Are we, as a country, are we that broke? These are things we need to think. And then when we begin to place ourselves in a place or in a position to make things or contribute our own quota, we shouldn't just look at it as a thing of surviving, but rather finding a way to contribute. Okay, finding a way to contribute. All right, finding a way to contribute. So instead of buying dollar, find a way to generate dollar. That's what I'm trying to say. Find a way to generate pounds. Okay, find a way to generate other currencies. Let them be flowing through you. Okay, let them be flowing through you. If you run an NGO, try as much as you can. Let your donors pay you in dollars or in pounds or in any other currency that is higher than Nigerian value. Okay, and it has a way of stabilizing. So no matter what we do, and also, of course, we understand that from wherever we are, we can export our skills. So check out for sites that can allow you apply for international jobs, and then you can earn few dollars. If it is $1,000, $500, $2,000 is something. Okay, and I tell you, it will have an impact, though insignificant, but it is making, that contribution has an impact to our GDP. Okay, so globalization for our businesses in current times is a reality. No boundaries again. The internet technology has made it a reality. Okay. Okay. In IPM, sometimes we generate, but let me not say we generate much, but at least we generate one sizable enough. Okay, we generate small dollars that can also help. Okay, one of the things that made us started training foreigners was once we were to pay for a particular program, and I think we had to pay $5,000. That was then, not even now. Then I think it was 263 naira. 263 naira, $5,000. What? So why do we need to go and buy these dollars? Can't we generate this money? Can't we find a way to, so that as they pay, if we want to do something with them, we use their investment to pay them rather than combing our own resources and then pushing out there. That was one of the things that led us to publishing our trainings to the international community. And by the help of God, we do have them come to our trainings. And when they pay in dollars, it helps. The money comes from them. And then if we want to do transaction with them, we also pay them in like terms. So it results to equilibrium. Okay, so let's try as much as we can to try to generate or export our skills and our values. Use the online, use any means available to you, or by all means, try to earn in other currencies. In this era we are now, try to earn in other currencies to help us stabilize Naira. If we continue this way, time will come that 1 Naira will now be 5,000, $1 will be 5,000 Naira. What would be the value of Naira then? Okay, this should be a call for every single Nigerian. to play our part, irrespective of what government, the part of government. Let's also try as much as we can to play our part. Globalization has enhanced the level of awareness of free flow of information across nations, influencing the market and the people. As a natural consequence, it has bearings on compensation management. International compensation management is a complex area because of cross-cultural issues, differences in organizational practices, labor, costs, and so on. For a multinational organization, it is now important to understand international compensation practices. Some of the common international compensation components are the base salary, indirect monetary compensation, equalization benefits, and incentives. In international compensation, design of incentives for expatriates is also a crucial issue. Various cash bonus, stock options, and performance-related payments are used as incentives. Equalization in benefits is practiced in international compensation as a transactional support to expatriates as a part of social adjustment assistance. Equalization. So you have a company that is in Canada and they pay their staff in dollars. So maybe they pay $2,000 and then they transferred you to a company now in Nigeria. It's expected that the same amount of money they pay you, they should pay you the same. As if that's the base pay for the organization, they should pay the same thing. But in most cases, we don't see that. Okay, we don't see that. So there should be equalization. International compensation design. This requires a global mindset. With global mindset, organizations can become flexible in designing compensation for expatriates. For example, in China, local labor costs for the state-owned enterprises and private and foreign organizations are different. To successfully compete in a global market, it is essential for organizations to design their international compensation with a global mindset to understand the economic, social, and political changes in the countries they operate. Approaches to international compensation. You have the going rate approach. The basic characteristics of this approach are linking the compensation of the expatriates as per the compensation structure in the host country. That's going rates. So if you are in Canada and they brought you to Nigeria, the going rates say they should pay you according to what is prevalent in your country. For this purpose, organizations need to first decide the basis of benchmarking this compensation structure. Some of the advantages of the going rate approach are equality, simple administration, and simple for expatriates to understand, and the overall sense of identity to the expatriates as they can relate them with the host country. Then you have the balance sheet approach. This type of approach provides for extra financial benefits to adjust the home country's living standards. First, home country pay and benefits are the basis of this approach. Financial benefits are provided in alignment with the living standard. An Italian expatriate working for an Italian company in India will certainly not feel comfortable with the Italian level of compensation. His or her base salary would be of Italian standard. The basic purpose of this approach is to equalize the purchasing power of expatriates in their home country, not in the host country now, but in their home country. So that you're in Nigeria working in Ghana, balance sheet is saying that they should pay you also what they were paying you in Nigeria, they should pay you the same in Ghana. That's if the standard of the standard was higher in Nigeria and lower in Ghana. It's expected that what your home country is paying, they should continue with that wherever they are, so that it doesn't affect your interaction or your economic value at home. Okay. Critical thinking questions. A particular organization engaged in the business of pharma drugs offers the best salaries in the industry to its employees. Due to the increase in inter-industry job mobility, the company has started losing talented employees. Initially, the company did not pay any attention to this issue as it gets skilled manpower from its relatively small competitors because of its competitive compensation package. However, its talent flight has now become so acute that the company has decided to opt for an industry benchmark of their compensation packages. As a team leader of this project, chalk out your action plans detailing the types of industries that you may like to benchmark. Prepare a wage policy for payment prepare a wage policy for payment of wages to industry workers. Okay, so this is Rupee appreciating in recent times has made Indian IT and ITES organization, IT enterprise solution organizations, prone compensation. Rupee appreciating in recent times has made Indian IT and ITES organizations prone compensation. Why one way for the company is to attribute such reduction in variables to performance, the other way is to consider this as economic phenomenon, examine the effect on the compensation design of manufacturing organizations in the era of rupee depreciation. So this is, these are questions. We have 3 questions here for your presentation. For your presentation, that's your final presentation. We have 3 questions here you can choose from. So you have the first case study, you have the second case study, but now we are using Naira. Naira appreciating in recent times has made Nigerian IT and IT-based organizations pro compensation. Why one way for the companies to attribute such reduction in variables to performance? The other way is to consider this as economic phenomenon. Examine the effect of Naira appreciating on or perhaps the effect on compensation design of manufacturing organization in the era of Naira depreciation. What would be the effect of Naira depreciation on the compensation design of manufacturing organizations? So you can choose a particular company and give us a breakdown. Then the final question is, a company engaged in the manufacture of lifestyle drugs and cosmetics gives 80% weightage to the competencies of marketing managers. You have been entrusted to help the company design a competency-based job description for marketing managers. Prepare the report and explain your reasons. So this question has to do with job design. So create a job design for this company, for their marketing managers. Is either you take this or you take this, the impact of compensation design of manufacturing companies in the era of Naira depreciation, or you take this. So whichever one you choose, the answer should, or your presentation should come by next week, Friday. Whichever one you choose to work on your questions, your presentations will come by next week, Friday. Okay, summary. Compensation management key learnings from this module. Pay or compensation represents an exchange between the employee and the organization. Compensation should be viewed as the strategic management of wages and salaries. Compensation management strives for internal and external equity. Internal equity requires that pay be related to the relative worth of the job so that similar jobs get similar pay. External equity means paying workers what other firms in the labor market pay comparable workers. A well-designed compensation plan helps ensure equity within the organization. A suitably designed compensation plan mixing both strategic and statutory perspectives optimizes the cost of compensation and simultaneously helps the organization achieve its strategic intent. For compensation design and management, effective job design, information and documentation of job analysis, job descriptions, and job evaluations are important prerequisites. Why framing compensation strategies the organization should align its policies and practices with its strategy. This will ensure fulfillment of role expectations for employees within the organization. And this is where we're going to call it a time in compensation management. So let me go back to the question that we will be reviewing in our presentations. So you have 3 questions. Number 1, a company engaged you in the a company that is into manufacturing of lifestyle drugs and cosmetics gives 80% weightage to the competencies of marketing managers. That means they put a whole lot of emphasis on the competencies of their marketing managers. So they are asking you now to develop job description for their marketing managers. The other one is examine the impact, the effect of on the compensation design of a manufacturing organization in the era of Naira depreciation. And then the first is for you to prepare, or as a team leader for the project, chalk out your action plan detailing the types of industries you will use to benchmark salaries for this organization that is losing staff, and then prepare a wage policy for payment of wages to industry workers. Question, comments, contributions as we begin to round up. Okay, so it's time for prayer. Oh, I didn't remember that today is Friday, sorry. Okay. So is there any question for me? Because I'm shutting down right now. Okay. Any question?